Today on Core Conversations, we have Brooke Siler. She's a UK teacher, and you might have known her when she was in the New York City scene as a celebrity trainer, a master teacher trainer, author of a couple books. She's done some amazing things in her lifetime. As we talked today, we touched on her time with Romana, her origins of the rehab Pilates studio, and even joked about her small 600 square foot New York City apartment, which doubled as a Pilates studio, and how she explained to people that those pieces were actually for exercise. Enjoy the conversation.
Good. Thank you so much for joining me today. That is such a treat to have you.
Hey, what a pleasure, really. Sometimes those little connections just happen, and I love when that happens. I'm very spontaneous, so.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Like, because no one just mentioned you in passing, and as we were having a conversation about something awesome that you do or say, I can't even remember what it was. I was like, oh yeah, our impact is so big, right? So
that really made me happy, because I mean, you really don't know, especially in the virtual world, who's listening, who's not listening. You know, you just kind of, you put out your message, you do what you love to do, and if people catch on, your vibe attracts your tribe. So right. Then yeah, I just kind of run with that. I don't know. It doesn't really matter the lighting, does it?
It doesn't.
I just wanted to put the camera somewhere because I talk with my hands a lot, so I need to put the camera like on a stand. I realized I didn't want to hold it.
Yeah.
I can actually talk.
Right. Yes. I like hold on to my coffee for dear life, so I'm not talking like this the whole time as well. So
it is.
It's more my own.
I should learn sign language at some point, so I can someday.
Yes. There we go.
So we had our little workout this morning.
Yes.
Very
and that's, I usually ask when I have trainers or instructors on, I ask them, who is their ideal client? Like, if you could have someone just walk in you could just train them the rest of your life because you just love X, Y, and Z about them, and you wouldn't have to charge them a penny. You just love working with these type of people. Who would that ideal client be for you?
This is gonna sound completely contrived. I swear it's not.
Okay.
Your type of person is my type of person. First of all, I really love working with men. I grew up with 4 older brothers. So I am very comfortable with, the issues of the male body in fitness.
Yes.
None of them were dancers, so let's just exclude that section of males, because they are their own fantastical breed of human.
Yes.
But your average man, I really. And the reason I can tell you it's not contrived is I actually have a friend who comes, or before COVID, was coming every morning at 6 a.m. His name is Charlie. Most people here, whenever I go to workshops, I talk about Charlie, because he's your everyman. He had never heard about Pilates really before he met me. He lives down the road. He cycles over. Oh, I don't charge him a thing. We just work out together. And yeah. I think what I like, and this is not across the board, because there are fussy men and there are non-fussy women, but men tend to be a little less fussy. So they'll just kind of do what you ask them to do, or they'll die trying. And I love that. Like you. And I love that, because it's not about being perfect. It's about moving your body and trying to get more out of your body than you had when you walked in.
Yes, exactly. Right.
And every day is different. And so I like real people who have, I like the reason I said your type is you're strong and tight. So there's things to work on with you, but I'm not going to break you because you're strong. Right. So yes. I really like that. So you would be my kind of ideal person. And then, of course, we just met, so I don't know, personality-wise, you might be awful. I don't know. But you seem pretty nice so far. And, you have to be able to have a laugh with somebody. So also
yes.
my Charlie who comes, we just laugh, because Romana used to always say that's the best way to find your abs is if you laugh.
Yes.
So
yes. Yeah.
Pilates without laughter is just, who wants to do that?
Right. Yeah. But when I saw for the first time real men do Pilates as a hashtag,
Yeah.
I just ran with it. I use it as much as I can. I made it my handle. I made it my Facebook. It's public domain, but it just resonated with me so much. I just wanted it to be my message. And
yeah, it always made me sad. And this was even back in the 90s. It really always made me sad that Pilates became so associated with females, dancers, yoga. Each of those is beautiful on their own. Women, gorgeous. Dancers, gorgeous. Yogis, gorgeous. But they're not. That's not what Pilates. It wasn't created by any of those types of people, and it wasn't actually meant for those types of people. And it did. It's interesting. You're talking about hijacking. In its own way, it got hijacked by those different sections of the public. And I always say there's beauty in all of it. And if you find something, whether or not I would deem it, authentic or not, it doesn't matter. Who cares? If you're doing it and it's making you feel better and you're getting results and you're seeing what you want to see in your body and you're feeling what you want to feel in your body, who cares? Yes. I do take a little bit of umbrage just on Joe's behalf, but I think it's because I was trained by Romana, who really drilled into us what Pilates was. Ironically, we have learned that she also veered as a female ballet dancer, that there's a lot, there was no side passe and grand rond de jambe, and,
yes, right.
We just accepted all of that, those of us who were students, and I still love them and teach all those things. But I also know, even back then, I did my homework. I read Joe's books. I mean, they're dog-eared and falling apart. I have multiple copies of them. And I was lucky enough to go through the program when Sean Gallagher was running it, and Romana was under his domain, if you can call it that. And so I did see a lot of the archival material way before it was, we didn't have the internet really. So I did get to sit and pour through films and everything. And I always, whenever I taught, even back in the late 90s, I used to go and teach at retreat centers. Yoga retreat centers would hire me to come and teach like a week-long Pilates retreat. And I had one copy that I had bought from Mary Bowen, that original archival. So that existed on a VHS. And I used to bring it with me to all of these retreats, and I always played that. And all I ever said to everyone was, if you are doing something that doesn't look or feel like this, it's not Pilates. And it's not Pilates. It's not because I'm saying it's not Pilates. That's Joe Pilates doing Pilates, contrology. So if what you're doing is very like this, as great as you feel, just can't you just call it something else? Because it's a man's name, whereas yoga is not a man's name. Yoga was the way I was taught was for 14-year-old boys to move their bodies so that they could sit in meditation. In India. Yes, great. And so Pilates, as Joe designed contrology, was designed for a very specific body, and so to take it any other way is fine, but then I just feel like if you still put his name on it, aren't you just kind of usurping Thank you. I always say that, like, okay, do what you want, but just educate people so that they know that we are no longer in Pilates land. Right. So I'll say, and I will say, obviously this isn't a Joe Pilates move. Like if we're single leg stretch is not a Joe Pilates move per se, but the tree is. So when I was you do it, what did I say to you? I want you to feel like this is your tree from the reformer. So if you can be creative enough to find a way to string those things together, great. But most people kind of skip that. They do the weekend first, and then they just use the name Pilates. And I also have one. Do have one bugbear. Okay. Now that I say this, I know I'm going to sound like one of those fussy people, but I have a problem when people write Pilates without a capital P. And even the best of the best do. But if we're doing, I agree with that. With a capital P, I agree with that. And this is my personal, when people call him Joe,
Joe said this, Joe said this, Joe said
No,
this.
but
I feel like
no,
Mr. Like,
he insisted he did not want to be
really?
Pilates, and he didn't go by Joseph.
Well,
Jay
it's
will
what really, eh?
Mr. Pilates. Yes, he would throw
He
that.
hated Mr. Pilates. Well, thanks for correcting me on that, because Miguel Silva and I were talking about that. Just maybe as a man, I think of just giving honor and respect to Mr. Pilates. So I even in my post I say Mr. Pilates said this as opposed to Joe, almost like a familiarity with someone that I don't know.
I hear you. Romana called him Uncle Joe. So
oh yeah,
she always referred to him as Uncle Joe. And
yes.
her daughter, Ari, also Uncle Joe, because he really actually
Yes.
was like that Uncle Joe.
Yes.
But no, Jay Grimes will tell you also, Joe, and in fact, it was Kathy Grant who said that he told her not to call him Mr. Pilates. It was
You don't say.
And she, because of who she was in the time, you know, it was the 50s, 60s, early, around there. She wouldn't. She always called him Mr. Pilates out of respect, but he did not. He wasn't that. He was Joe.
Wow, I have to repost that. Like Miguel and I's conversation, we're like, yeah, I hate that too, and now we're like, oh, okay.
No. I mean, in my head, a lot it was Uncle Joe, Uncle Joe. So I mean, I call him Uncle Joe, but that's how I hear it in my head because I hear Romana saying it. And we didn't. She always said Joe Pilates, or Uncle Joe. Never Mr. Pilates. She said he didn't like being called Mr. Pilates, and then Kathy Grant told me he didn't like to be called Mr. Pilates, but anyway.
Wow.
And Jay Grimes told me it was over. And in fact, he shuts people down when they say Mr. Pilates. He's like, no,
really,
it's Joe. So yeah, you have to get Jay on here. He'll tell you.
Okay, so for the record, I stand corrected.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there you go.
You mentioned Mary Bowen a second ago.
Yeah.
And it's just so fascinating. You know, I didn't know. Like, I actually did my master's degree in counseling, so I'm from the kind of social work background, and so I studied Mary Bowen in counseling, and I never made the connection that the Mary Bowen from psychology was the Mary Bowen in Pilates.
Isn't that so cool?
It's so cool. One day I was just like, she's like one of the most revered people in two of my favorite fields. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I don't, unfortunately, I don't know too much about her, other than, just doing a little bit of research back in the day. But I do love that she's who she is and has that background as well. I think that's super cool.
That mind-body connection, when you're so aware on that level of both, it must be fascinating. Yeah,
it was interesting. I was teaching on Saturday a workshop, and every morning I have a few workouts that are just with friends, just for free. We just work out together. And in one of them, I was talking to them about the psychology behind people who because I had a friend of mine who said she just really wanted to be able to do a rollover. We were talking about that. I really want to be able to do a rollover. And I said, so what's the inherent value of that to you? Like, why? Because rolling like a ball has all the same elements in there. The inherent value of the rollings to create circulation and I said that's the whole return to life idea, is that we create space and we're massaging our organs and we're massaging our own bodies. And so you're already getting that in so many other exercises. Why is the rollover what's stuck in your head about, like, I have to do the rollover? And this is the psychology that it can be frustrating. I completely understand it, and it's not a judgment on that person, because Lord knows I do that too to myself, like, oh, I have to get that. And why do we do that when really Pilates was about body feel great? He wanted us to be healthy and live long and be able to live with zest and vitality, and go about our daily life like that. And really the rollover is a full expression of some other stuff. But I was also saying to them, yeah, but he also had handles like that. This was, by the way, someone who was trained only in mat. And this is some of the issue I take with that, is that if you understand the entire system, it's a system. The problem with that is that you do end up, or some people, not everybody, but end up feeling very frustrated that there's things that you can't see, you think you can't accomplish, when in fact, if you had the equipment, the support that he developed for you, you could probably, if that's where you go. And I said, you know, if someone comes in and their dying wish is to do a split or, you know, we can do that. I'm happy to do that with you. Again, the psychology behind that is if you are incentivized to do something because there's something you desire,
yes,
that will come in to make my goals. I don't care if we do 6 exercises or 40. It really doesn't matter. I just want to see you doing each thing you do as best as you can on that day, and that you leave, and you leave better than you came in. You know, that's really what.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the psychology is fascinating, and I think you're hard pressed to find a Pilates teacher who won't tell you that they're part psychologist half the time. I'm sure you are. Yeah. And half the time we're patient.
Yeah. Yeah, so much there, right? It's so funny. Can we just kind of start back at the beginning and just say who you are and what you do? Because we just continued a conversation for the last like 40 minutes here.
I'm just some chick that was wandering by. Okay, yeah. So I'm Brooke Siler, and a Pilates teacher. And I started Pilates in 1994. Completely, I don't know if I found it or it found me, but because I totally think the universe works in those really cool, mysterious ways. But I was moonlighting at a gym, like as a trainer, but I was just doing that on the side because I wanted to be a writer. And so while I was working, after I graduated college or university, I then was taking courses in, what do you call it? Oh my God. So then this is why I didn't end up being one. In writing for magazines. I wanted to be a travel writer because I thought that combined all my loves. I love to travel, I love to speak different languages, and I love to write. So I was like, I'm going to be a travel writer. Of course, so that's the plan, right? Yes. And then in between the plan, as we know, that's when life happens. So I was working at a friend's gym, and he was an exercise physiologist, so he was teaching me cool stuff about the body. And I've always been, I come from a fitnessy family. Like my dad was a pre-Olympian. He was training for the Olympics when he was actually drafted into the World War II. So my oldest brother's a black belt. My sister was this equestrian phenomenon. Each of my brothers had a different sporty kind of background. Yes. And so coming from that, that's just something that you did. I definitely didn't think of it as a career. It was like, oh, that's not a career. So yeah, I was working at the gym, and one day this woman came in and set up in the front of the gym this whole Pilates studio. And I was like, it was a small studio, a small gym. So I used to just watch, and I'm like, what the hell is that? Yes. And then I tried a class. Now, you have to understand, I was very fit. I was like push-up, weights, sit-ups, strong. Yes, right. So when I took a mat class, I was very humbled. Let's just say, because I had no flexibility for sure. And when I tried to straighten my legs on open leg rocker, I just will never forget, and this is just very me, like tears were coming of like anger. I was so frustrated that could not do it. Who can do 1 million push-ups and sit-ups, and I'd always thought I was so strong, and then the Pilates comes and like smacks you down, and it's like, maybe not so strong. So,
Right. Yes.
but for me, that drives me. Instead of it making me go like, whatever that is, I was like, oh my God, I have to know everything that I can. But again, it's still just for me. There was no, first of all, I had never really heard of a Pilates teacher even. People were still trying to pronounce it at that stage.
Okay.
So I just, I just started taking the classes all the time. Whenever I could, I would jump on the equipment. And I thought it was the most intelligent thing. It like took all the lifting and lowering of weights, and it said, no. There's like every shade in between of the black and the white of the lift.
Yes.
And it made my mind light up and my body was lit. And I was like, oh my God. And within a couple months, I'd say, she was like, you know what, you need to go meet Romana. And that was it. I met Romana. We fell in love instantaneously. She was just, my father had just passed away in 94.
Oh, yes.
And he was born in 1922 and Romana 1923. And they just had that same, that wartime mentality. They were like, live life. They ate life because they were like, they went through all of the hard times. And so I just adored her. And that was it. Like once I was with her, I just nestled myself in, and I don't think I moved from under her arm 2 years. I just did anything she did. I just watched her intently, and I just adored her. And I'm so lucky that I got to do that. And then, of course,
absolutely.
I knew her for the whole 10 years, actually, before she moved to Texas. But I spent 2 solid years with her. And in fact, it's really funny because I went into the program. I joined Sean's program in 94. And again, as I told you, I wasn't going to be a Pilates teacher because that wasn't a thing. In 1994, that was not a thing. So even though there were many Pilates teachers, so I don't mean to insult any of them, and I know a lot of them, and my hands are up, they are amazing. But it wasn't a thing that was.
It wasn't a career path.
Yeah, for me, I was going to be a writer. My mom's a writer. I have a brother who's a writer. I was going to be a writer. So, and funny enough, ended up writing. But kind of was like, I was just doing Pilates just because I loved it. And what do you do when you love something? You tell people you love about it. So I was talking all the time, as we do. And I am clearly very good at talking. I was telling my friends all the time about Pilates. They were seeing it in me. They saw my passion. They were like, oh, can you do some with me? And I literally would just put a mat on my back, and I would go to their houses at 7 in the morning, and I would train them. And that's how it started. Was I just was sharing what I loved as it was being given to me, as Romana got it from Joe and passed it along. I always tell everyone, we're really just these vessels, and it will just move through us. And our goal is to make other people better. Nobody's meant to reign supreme. There is no supreme Pilates king or queen.
For a second, but there's no supreme high ruler in the Pilates kingdom.
No, because that would actually, well, other than Joe, it really, it really is about helping people. I mean, that was his whole mission, was to help people. It wasn't, and Romana told us all the time, it was like, get in, get out. It's not about, I mean, we're all kind of, I know we're all guilty of it, but you're not supposed to spend 10 hours in the Pilates studio. You get in, you get out, and you get on with your life. And Romana was such a teacher of things like that. She was always like, get out. Like she would end continuing eds early because she'd be like, go live. You're like, go to the ballet, have a glass of champagne, go dance. She wanted us to understand that this was almost a means to an end. It wasn't the end all be all.
Yes.
It's meant to get your body moving. So whether or not you can do a rollover, I'll just segue back to that. You can do a rollover or a star or whatever. If you want to make that your goal, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That just acknowledge that that's your unique goal, and that's not what Pilates is. And
exactly
didn't have levels. You were either injured in the back room or you were in general population out on equipment doing your thing. There was no like beginner, intermediate that I know of. Romana always said there were no levels.
Right.
You did what you could do.
So how did it become this like beginner, intermediate, advanced level tiers and all these different things? Like, is that just a money thing, like a business thing, a teaching thing, a crowd management thing? Like, how do we get there?
Crowd management. No, I think it had to become like a codified system when it became a training program. So when it first started to become a training program, because Romana trained, there's this wonderful teacher named Carrie Regan who teaches in New York. Find her if you can. She's fantastic. And she taught with me at Rehab. My studio was called Rehab. So she taught with me for years. She started back in the 70s with Romana. And she was one of Romana's original like 8 certified teachers. And the way Romana, she told me they did it is, first of all, they just worked out a lot and taught all the time. Mostly taught all the time. And then also she had like made them videos of the workouts. And so they kind of, their program was just on video, on VHS. Okay. Like, so it wasn't a beginner intermediate thing. You did what you could do. I don't want to put words in Carrie's mouth. Maybe I'll send her to you. Maybe you have a great conversation with her because she's a great conversation. She's great. She's really fun.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah. You know, it's always good to go back to that because you're asking about like when it started, and I can't tell you, but I could tell you that obviously I could see almost the shift from Romana when I met her into when it started to become like a full-fledged program. And that was it was a hard shift for her because as I told you right before we started working out, when I walked into Romana's studio, she gave me a full advanced reformer right off the bat. I wasn't a beginner, even though I didn't know very much. I'd only been doing mat and a few sessions down at the gym I was at. She saw a strong, capable person. So she gave me all the things that were right for me. Yes. She didn't say like, oh, you're a beginner to Pilates, and so you're going to just do this and just do that. It wasn't like that. It was you gave the person in front of you what they needed. And I was 26 years old. I was strong and I was excited, and so she gave me everything that she could. And I did my best. Trust me, as Jay says, it's not always pretty, as long as it's safe. As long as it's safe,
exactly.
It's okay, but it's not going to be pretty. So that's okay.
So then moving from going from people's houses, just working in individual houses, when did you make the leap to open your studio?
Okay, now this one's a little tough because I did realize when we were talking before and we were talking about just following your passion. Yes, I did just follow my passion, but I also am a native New Yorker. And when you grow up in New York, eventually you end up running in certain circles sometimes. And I did have famous friends, and they were mostly the models in the 90s, the supermodel people of the 90s. So told their friends, they told their friends, and then it started, to get a little bit bigger than me. But I was just doing it out of my apartment. So then I broke up with a boy that I had been dating for a long time and put the equipment, the next boy I was dating said, oh, you should put the equipment. Why don't you just throw out your living room furniture? I was in like a 600 square foot little apartment in New York City. And so I got I had no living room furniture. I had a reformer and a combo chair. A chair. Yes. And G.O.A.T wasn't even making those at the time. So I had to buy it from somebody else, and the springs were terrible. So back to G.O.A.T. But yeah, so that's what I had in my living room, which was hilarious because that's quite an interesting conversation to have when somebody walks in. That shit in your living room.
It's for exercise.
Exactly. I'm like, oh, it's not sexual. So then people started coming to my house for the workouts, mostly, my model friends. And then, of course, my model friends told their editor and writer friends, and then the editor and writer friends started wanting to write articles, so they came. And then, it was pretty quick. There was somebody, this woman came and she wrote an article in Vogue, and that was it. It was just like a little thing. She had come to me and she said, oh, you can never reshape your legs. And I was like, oh, but you can. And she was like, oh, we have to write an article. So first it was like the models reshaping their legs, and then it became a bigger piece. I wrote again, and then I was like, oh shit, I'm a business. Like, uh-oh, whether I want to be or not, trust me.
Right.
I wanted to be a business. I told you, I just wanted to be a writer, and I was just loving Pilates. That was really, So then one of my model friends, my best friend at the time, had said, you know what, I want to invest in you. Let's open something together. And so we, along with another Pilates teacher at the time, we found a space, and then that Pilates teacher left, and we kept going. And she was like a silent part. Well, she was supposed to be silent, but thank God she wasn't, because she was much better at business than I'm always like, I'm just dumb talent. I just show up and like teach. Like, that's just what I want to do. Yes. I don't really want to like fuss with the rest of the stuff. So I had to learn, but I had that business for 17 years, and in New York City, they're like dog years. So I learned a lot. It just became, it was not, I never sat down, I have written a business plan, but I had not written one then.
Yes. You didn't craft like your strategic plan and these are my goals.
No, it was very organic. And sometimes it did kind of like pull me with it. And I was like, because again, as I said, like, I don't know, it was tough. Like, I think some of the toughest part for me was when you are a business, and I know this is going to sound funny, but when I stopped being a business, when I moved here 5 years ago and closed the studio and everything, I felt so free. And this is going to sound, I don't know if I hope I say it properly. I'm very, I stick my foot in my mouth all the time. But
just say it.
No one's watching. No, I'm kidding.
No.
Who cares? I think one of the hardest things was that I am a very authentic, like, I'm going to say it like it is type of person, or the way I think it is type of person. And I'm totally willing to hear feedback. But when you own a business, especially because I had 20 people working for me, so there were 15 teachers at any given time, and then manager, reception, I had a program director at one point because I started a training program. After Romana moved to Texas, then there was no one in New York that was doing a training program, so I started one. So it got big, and I was like, oh my God, and I really was hanging on for dear life. But what I found that was really a struggle for me, because I was young as well. This is still my like early 30s at this point.
Yes. Late
20s, early 30s. I didn't like not having a voice. Like when a client was being an ass, I really wanted to go, you're being an ass. But of course, if I did that to them and they went and at the time wrote like a Yelp review about the obnoxious owner, I would have been the 20 other people that worked for me. Yes. So I didn't feel like I could be myself. I had to be a version of myself that was very, not that I'm not polite. I can be polite and kind and all those things, but it really was, and sometimes business owner, you just can't do that. And
no, right.
And now, I left that intentionally because I wasn't, it didn't feel good anymore. I was like surviving, not thriving. Yes. And I needed to find myself again. The joy wasn't there.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, did you feel like you were losing a part of yourself?
Oh my God, my integrity. Because I was having to kind of sell out to keep the studio going, because I felt such an obligation, such a responsibility, and I wanted to honor. We had hundreds of clients, and they relied on that studio, and then the teachers who relied on it, and I felt all of their responsibility. I felt I needed to hold that, and it was a big burden to bear, especially with 2 young children.
Yes.
And I was like, when are we moving to England? Because he's British, and he's like, you promised we would move to England. So it just started like the noose was tightening around my neck. And it had been for a while, and I was ignoring it. And you can't, you can keep pushing it and catch up with you. And it
Yes,
did. It
yes.
caught up with me, and I really struggled. My health went downhill. I huge anxiety attacks, really stuff. And
Yes.
I needed to listen to myself and what my heart was telling me, which is that you need to, it's, you know, as I was saying to you earlier, so I'll be 52 in July, and I started it at 26. Half of my life
Yes.
is devoted to not only bodies, but to others. And it's not that I still don't want to devote myself to others. I love devoting myself to others, but I was forgetting me in the equation.
That's the crucial part.
Huge. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So now I love the fact that I'm not a business. I'm not a business. I'm a Pilates teacher. I teach Pilates. You like it, you like it. You don't, you don't.
Yes.
I'm fine. As you said, one of your things, there is enough people to go around. You know, your vibe attracts your tribe, and I really only want people who dig what I have to offer, and I do the same back. I take tons of classes with teachers, especially now online. It's fantastic. But I've never stopped. I will always be the eternal humble student. I mean, that's joyous to me. Being the
Absolutely.
student is joyous.
Yeah. My friend said on one of these conversations, we are a white belt forever.
Oh, I saw that when I was.
Yeah, I was like, when Aaron said that, I was like, yes. He's like a high level jiu-jitsu guy. He's like, no, white belt forever. Like, we're always there. It doesn't matter how high we get. Like, that's.
I pull people back all the time, and I need to be pulled back all the time. And that's the thing. It's humbling, but that's part of it. I saw this great meme. I posted it once, and it said something like, a hard day for your ego is a great day for your soul.
I like being uncomfortable like that, because I know that the end of it is I'm going to be a better person. So there's like even like our conversation this morning, like you wanted to work with me because you saw that it's tight. Like I could think that I'm like absolutely perfect and everything looks wonderful, and then have my head down because someone called me out, or I could be like, yes, I get to get better. Let's go.
Yeah. And for sure, I really hope that it didn't come across as like, I just, you know, you could easily do the same thing to me. All you have to do is look at half the pictures I post, which, believe me, has been huge for me to be putting myself out there, because it's nerve-wracking. But like I say, the only way
good for you.
Through fear is through. So that's the way out of it. You put yourself out there, and listen. Not that I don't see. Romana taught us to train our eyes. I watched Romana a lot, so my eyes are sharp, and I think that because I come from an artistic background. So besides writing, I was an art major. I love painting and drawing and whatnot. I see things with a certain line, but it's not judgment. It's objective. I'm literally just objectively, I just saw a tightness in your body. I wasn't like, he sucks. I was like, here's somebody who needs some help ironing out some of those lines. The same you would look at me and be like, oh, I see she needs to use her glutes more. Or where I come at your Pilates from, or your movement from, you would do the same for me. Right. And I would absolutely the same way.
But I think that speaks on a higher level, Brooke, to just us as people understanding that when people give us feedback, that it's objective feedback. It's not an attack on our character. It's something that is actually supposed to enhance our living.
But it really depends, back to this, we're full circle back to the psychology. I have had plenty of apprentices who, I recognized that no matter what I said, they heard me as whichever parent was the strict parent. And even though I was like, I'll put on a clown nose and a wig if that makes you feel more comfortable in front of me. But don't keep telling me it's me that's intimidating you. You keep seeing, you're projecting onto me some art and so I used to say to them, like, okay, am I mom or am I dad? Who am I? Because somebody did a number on you, and I just want to tell you, like, remove them, because I'm neither. I'm me, and I need you to see me the same way I'm seeing you. That can be.
That's a hard conversation to have.
It is. Nothing I do comes out of malice, and I hate judgment, so I'm not going to judge you. Like, I just won't, because I don't want to. I'm first to judge me. So I'm still working on that part. And when I get that right, it makes it easier. But I really, I judge myself way more before I judge somebody else. I really, especially physically, when I'm looking at somebody, I just see movement. I see movement and I see lines.
Yes.
And I see a human. I see a human. I try to see a human, but sometimes I get a lot of the lines. But
yeah. There's you said about Romana earlier and getting that eye. She teaches with that eye. In parenting, there's a line that there's a lot more things that are caught than taught.
More things that should be caught than taught, or that
no, as a parent, when you're parenting with kids, the things that you're teaching your kids, there's a lot of things that they just catch from you, your habits, your mannerisms.
Got it.
See what I'm saying? And I think that that's a lot of it, like with Romana, like the things that she taught you, like do this, do this, do this, do this, but then you see the way that she moves or the way that she catches certain things, and you caught those from her, even though she didn't actually say, this is how this is done.
Absolutely. In fact, times she was, because not only did she end up fitting into this program, but then a manual was created and she signed off on the manual. But honestly, she had a lot of issues with that manual as well, which was our training manual. So we weren't even allowed to have our manuals with us. Like, you kept them, they were just in the dressing room. And sometimes, you know, during a lunch break or something, you'd run and you try to remember like one thing. And she used to say, remember, if you learn one new thing a day, you're a genius. She's like, you're going to be a genius if you just can hold on to that one thing. So like when I go to take a workshop or something with someone, I just wait for that. Like, I'm like, oh, that's my money right there. I only need one thing. And I just hang on to that one thing, because that's enough for me to work with for the next, you know, couple weeks or a month.
Absolutely.
Until it comes along. So, you know, anyway, when we worked with Romana, she did start to say, you have to do it this way or that way. But I could see the fight in her, because her natural instinct wasn't necessarily to teach it in that manner. And she always kept little tricks up her sleeve. So you could like come in and just be her student and leave, or you could be with her all the time. When you're with her all the time, because, you know, I still have my timesheets. I was there from 7 a.m. to 12 or 1. Whenever she left, I left. That was it. I was done.
Yes.
And I was there, and you and I talked about how we're morning people. So I would get up, you know, 6 a.m. at the studio at 7. I took my sessions at 7 a.m. for years and years and years. But then I would stay all day and just watch. And in fact, sometimes I would even try to hide from teaching, because sometimes they'd be like, oh, you know, Brooke, we need somebody to teach so-and-so. And I was like, I like hide from the wall, because I just wanted to watch. I'm very visual. So I was learning. But then, of course, I spent, you know, the next 20 years or whatever teaching bodies. It's not like my fill. And I did teach a lot of bodies there too. But I knew that I just wanted to watch. And sometimes what she said and what she did were different, because she was going along with the program. But then when the program wasn't happening and she was just with her people, it was amazing. And again, not pretty Pilates, but I'd say the average age in that studio was like 70. So
really,
we got to see some stuff. And boy, these people, incredible. Again, they don't have to be pretty workouts. But what they could do with their bodies at 70, 80, 90 years old, these people, amazing. So for me, my start in Pilates was about what it does for your life, not how perfect your teaser is. Although,
thank you.
Who doesn't, you know, if that's your goal, great. But everyone's going to have a different version of what perfect is. And then, of course, you know, we had that whole run in the early 2000s when scientists jumped in and started saying that everything was wrong and the spine is in the wrong position. And I feel so bad for everyone who, I don't know, got sucked in. You know, one of the things that I loved is you said, this is an organic platform, right? And I'm a very organic person. And for me, one of the joys of Pilates is I feel like it's very organic. And so when it starts to become so tight and fearful, fear-based, a lot of the science people put fear into the joy of movement and stopped, you know, you're not supposed to move your pelvis out of this position. And Joe Pilates on every freaking page says it's a natural, normal movement in your body. So I always say, if you can't do it during sex, then Why would we be doing, you know, you got to learn how to move your pelvis in all the directions it will go. It's not supposed to just stay in one. So I really struggled with that. But happily, I took that struggle and I turned it into, I was like, maybe I'm missing something. And I started studying anatomy, but like deep. And I've done dissection courses and anatomy and kinesiology and physiology. And I am definitely nowhere, you know, I can't always talk all the talk, but I understand.
You understand it, yes.
I understand that there's nothing wrong with what I was taught or the way I teach it. Like I even understand kind of where people were coming from with what they were saying, but the way they delivered it, it became a fearful message, and you shouldn't be afraid of movement. There are still schools out there that really have people afraid to move, and it breaks my heart because how can you enjoy the vitality that Joe wanted you to, returning to life, if you're
living in fear?
Down.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So where would you recommend that someone new in Pilates goes for teacher training? Maybe you don't want to answer that, or you want to answer generally speaking, like what is the best path for someone to get into this?
Well, I really think, first of all, you have to be a student. You know, I mean, I spent those months first taking classes, and you have to find the people, the people that speak to you, that appeal to you, that not just, they're not giving you results, right? Because you're giving yourself results. The movement, the work itself gives you the results. But I have heard about, the only way I can kind of say this is I've had a lot of people tell me that they've gone to schools that have made them feel bad. And that I would say about face and go away. Although I would also say careful, because Romana was tough too. So if you didn't have some thick, sometimes someone probably could have said that about her too. But she wasn't, her intention wasn't to be mean. She was like a tough little lady. But you have to know the difference. There are people telling me that they're going to some schools and the things that they're being told are shocking. Things about their weight, things about, I mean, it makes me like angry, honestly, Martin. That's one of the,
right,
like,
of course.
Just want to one of those places, and I want to be like, how dare you? I mean, I just think that's, and now granted, if we go back to Joe Pilates, he threw people out of the studio. He called people elephants. I mean, maybe it's not far from the origin, but for me as a human, that's not okay. So I would say, be a student, enjoy the work first. When I went through the program, I didn't go through the program to go through the program. I went through because that was my way of getting as much Pilates as I could, honestly, for the least. If I had been paying for private sessions with Romana all the time, it would have been much more expensive than paying for the program and just living with her in that studio. Love the work. Fall in love with the work. You're your own teacher first. I can't point anyone in a direction. I think just find people who share similar values to you as humans on the planet, but who are also dedicated to their craft, who really have the work in their bodies. It doesn't matter what size they are. It matters whether they have the work in their bodies. And you can see, Romana was 75 when I met her. If I had gone off of her body shape, that would have been a problem. But that woman could outfoot me and outleg me, and like the crap she could do at 75 that I couldn't do at 26. So I do just see that you know, someone's had it in their body, so then they have an understanding of it. And find a place, I think, that is well, no, I'm going to say definitively, the whole system. It's a system.
Yes, it's a system.
It has to be learned as a system.
Yes.
And it's not that there's anything wrong with the mat work. It's really not. But it's, if you think about how many pieces there are and how that's one part of something, and it's actually the sewing together of so many other pieces, it's like doing a jigsaw puzzle, but you only have a quarter of the pieces, so you can only ever do that one quarter. And there's a whole rest of the jigsaw puzzle that'll get you there. So I keep saying to the person who wants to do the rollover, if you had the whole system, you could work through that and get your something.
Because you could find it as other places in the work.
Yes. I mean, if you're fighting with a mat, you're going to lose, I think.
Sorry, I
I
was just
mean,
saying we have so many people. I've been trying, like, I tried to turn the comments off, but I do want to just acknowledge everyone who's on here, and you can see Marla Earl's here. I think Kathy Ross Nash was in here as well.
oh,
Nitu,
I'm gonna see her
yes,
tonight. I'm doing
yes,
her baby chair class though. Again,
amazing.
humble student. I'm
Yes.
willing to look the fool. I never mind looking the fool for my
Now,
craft.
and we even learned, like someone was saying about learning from like new students as well, like getting taught by new students because they have a new eye and then they bring so many things to the table. It's almost like some of the best teachers are yet to even be discovered.
1,000,000%. I agree.
Mhm.
I mean, it may be a limited view, but it's also, you're right. It's a fresh, hungry, because they're right at the beginning. So there is this,
Yes.
they're not like tired or bored or like it's all
Yeah.
new and exciting for them.
Or
So they're really
yes,
wonderful energy wise to work with, I think.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We have a minute and 50 seconds left, Brooke. We just yammered for like 50 minutes straight.
I think
It's
am
like
for like 50 of them, and maybe you got a few seconds in there.
it's so awesome though. I just like your business. Like this is just as organic. Where it goes, it goes. I got one quick question here. If you had one piece of apparatus you could invest in, what piece would you get? That's one of the questions here on the comment section.
Oh. I mean, I love the tower.
The tower, eh? Yeah.
I'm a big tower fan, yeah, because you get a mat and a tower together. You get
Right.
both. And I like efficiency. So yeah, I like that you get both for the price of one. I mean, of course, the reformer is named the universal reformer for a reason. It's going to reform your body. That's
Yes.
for sure. So I totally understand getting the reformer. However, yeah, if you like, especially if we're talking about in your home and you don't have
Yes.
space, the thing that's great about a tower unit is the mat lifts up and you can tuck it behind. So it's really only, X amount of like a foot or so
Yes.
from the wall.
Yes, small footprint.
Yeah, it's got a
Yeah.
small footprint. Exactly. I mean, you do have to drill it into your wall and your floor, but other than that, yeah.
Other than that, yeah.
I'm gonna say
Yes.
power. You listen, when people enjoy, it's always, it's so it's flattering, of course, but it's also really validating.
Yes.
When you follow your heart, you follow your passion, and other people are inspired by that. That for me, or they want to hear more. I mean, there's no better anything.
I love that word. I love that word validating. I think that's it. I was looking for that word, but that is exactly it. It totally validates that. And well,
Yeah.
For the years of you just following your passion, isn't it beautiful when you can marry your passion for movement with your passion for writing and that passion for art and just being able to see things in lines and just look at it through that lens? That is like, that's truly being alive when you can give expression to all of those. Really.
Well, I said there's going to be a point at which I said next just going to be all pictures. It's going to be all drawings. And I said, and I may just burst into some like cosmic light at that point, because that will be the coming together of everything I love. And like,
yes,
that would be amazing.
It's great. Like this has been so fun today. You're so amazing on so many levels as a teacher and just endearing. I could see why people just love your charisma, and your passion just bleeds through in everything you say and do.
Thank you so much. And I think what you're doing is the platform of bringing people together, and so genuine and from a really good place. And I really believe that there's rewards always for when things come from really good places. So thank you very, very much for being that. We need more people like you in the world. And thank your wife.
Thanks for joining us on Core Conversations today. Brooke is so awesome, and I'm sure you want to keep the conversation going. You can do that by going to personalvictory.ca/Core Conversations and also joining our Facebook group at Core Conversations. If you want to hear more of our podcasts, subscribe and join the conversation there. Have a great day.